So we're excited to share a continuation of our series that we've created around the 4 lenses. We finished a major block of this called self-awareness. We went through the 4 lenses, we went through what they were, what played out, we saw posters. It was a great experience in helping people to really understand self-awareness. Now we're moving into the application phase of this. We call it maturity. So as you now watch these next videos, there's going to be a series of videos that are going to help you to understand not just what your temperament is, but now how do you really become more effective as a human in all of those relationships that are most important to you. All right, as you take out your books now, turn to page 12 in your books, and I want you to plot your total numbers from page 7, plot them on this graph. So take whatever your totals were and put in, and if you're over 40, then just kind of estimate where it's at. And then connect the dots. For the golds in here, your cards are really good straight edges. All right, so as you're looking at this now, a couple things to consider. First off, if you have any of those areas less than 20, so if you're looking up here, so this would be me. So I'm high orange, like 42 orange. I'm about 36 or so gold. And then I was like 16 and 15 or 15 and 40. It's been so, but less than 20 in both blue and green. So what that says is that those areas of less than 20 can be potentially what we refer to as a blind spot. Now, what does that mean? Good friend of mine, high gold. Married a high orange and had 5 boys. And for whatever reason, 4 of those 5 boys were high oranges. She came to this class probably a half a dozen times. And every time she came, because she came to try to understand what was going on in the world. And she finally came up, she says, I finally have figured this thing out. I'm like, okay, what? She says, well, there's really only 3 colors. There's blues and greens and golds. And when any of those 3 act childishly immature, that's what you're calling an orange. And I'm like, you didn't get this. You kind of missed something along the road, right? But she had a blind spot. It literally was like, so I have a blind spot for greens and blues, right? And so I could, if this would have been 20 years ago, and I was sitting in this group, I'd be sitting at this table, and I'd be sitting there, and I'd see a bunch of people over there, and I would sit there and go, there's no way in the world anybody does what they just said they do. There's nobody that could do that. There's nobody that could care like they care. Are you kidding me? That's what I would have said, because it was a blind spot to me. Likewise, these greens, I mean, those nerds that just, I mean, are you kidding me? They just need to go and hang out in Star Wars, places and because they were blind. It was a blind spot to me, right? Because my life revolved around this orange and gold, and I was really good orange, low mature, and really good gold, because I could do either one of those pretty well, but blind spots. Now, I find my wife, who there's Sarah, exact opposite. And as I entered into this relationship with Sarah, first off, we're usually attracted to people that are opposites because we see something in them that we know we're weak at. So her ability to be kind and caring and compassionate, her ability to be cool, calm, and collect, right, type of thing is like, man, and same thing with her. She saw me and the things that she appreciated me. And then we started. And it didn't take very long for me to realize that the only way she was ever going to be happy is if I convince her to be like me. And I worked at it. I mean, I'm telling you, I worked at it. And I can tell you, we just had our 40th anniversary, and for years, what she was able to do is go into her green mode. And there was a lot of hurt. I'm not going to lie. There was a lot of pain that kind of came in this relationship. But this allowed her to at least be compassionate enough, but then she could go up here and just go, he's just an idiot. right? He's just an idiot. And so we just kind of worked through that, and over the years we've been able to figure out. So now, how do you play out? If you have a blind spot, or even if you don't, you want to strengthen. So what's the perfect person? How would you map them out on here? A lot of people think I need to be a 30, 30, 30, 30, right? I need to tone down my orange. But so that is not the intent. The intent is to figure out, if I was to say who the perfect person would be, it'd be this person right here. They don't even exist inside. They've learned. So I'll never be a blue or I'll never be a green. I guarantee you that. And I've taught this and I live this, and this is who my life type of thing. And still to this day, I know and I value the green and I value the blue. I just don't know how to do it as well as they do. But I do know how to do it better today than I did 10 years ago, and 20 years ago, and 30 years ago, and 40 years ago. The key to this is to be self-aware, which that's what we talked about. So I'm now self-aware. I can see that I've got some strengths. I can see that I've got some areas that I need to improve in. So now how do I change? How do I become a better human through this process? Well, it just so happens that we had an organization that we both led called our family. So there's our 7 kids. And we sat down and we actually, call it whatever you want, but we labeled all of our kids, or we colorized our kids, or however you want to look at it. And so I had this son up here that was a blue-green. I had my daughter that was a blue-gold. Had a son that was an orange-green, and so on and so forth. And of course, I have a blue-orange. Yeah. Okay, so those are our kids. So we went through and we did this. Now, if we as a couple valued each other for the strengths that we had, here's the cool thing. Which kids could we not help? Does that make sense? There's not a single one of these kids that we can't collectively help. Whereas if I was just to go through and parent the way that I was living my life, right, I would only reach a couple of my kids. Together, we became this team. And this is where maturity comes in. The ability that I have to begin to understand where my weaknesses are and how do I grow and how do I change. So we identified, and so we this blue kid here, he's yours. So Matthew, he's yours. The daughter, she was actually, during her time, she was more gold, so she actually became mine. Aubrey became mine. And even today, if Aubrey has a problem that needs to be solved, she calls me. If she has something that she needs to talk to somebody about, to be listened to, she calls her mom, right? So she's figured that. So all of our kids do that. So let me just give you a little story about how this played out and how my journey of maturity began. We did this. We understood where our kids were. I understood where I was. She understood where she was. And so Matthew comes home from school one day. And he was, I don't even know, it's been so long now, my brain, I'm old, but I'd say he's like a 10, maybe 9 or 10, something like that. And he comes home and he's crying because he doesn't have any friends at school, right? So here's this little blue kid. He walks in the door and he starts, I don't have any friends at school. And he's doing this little, at the time, now you have to understand, I'm not proud of this, but in my brain, I'm going, oh my gosh, this little wussy kid here, I need to figure out how to toughen him up a little bit, right? That's my first reaction. Now, luckily for him, I wasn't doing that anymore. I'm not saying I wasn't thinking it, I just didn't act on it, right? So what I did say was this, Matthew, today I can't help you with what you're dealing with. Now, I had a choice. I could have said, why don't you go talk to your mom about that sissy little blue stuff, right? And she can resolve your problem. When you want to be a man, come back and talk to me, right? But what I did say was this, Matthew, I'm not able to help you today. So let's go talk to your mom and let's figure out how she can help you with this. Now, what was key to that? Yeah, let's, right? And I sat on the edge of the bed and I watched how she interacted with him. And then I stood in the kitchen, whatever it was, and I watched how she interacted with him. And over the years, I haven't become a blue, but I've learned to understand and value blues. Apparently not too good, because I learned today that I need more work, thanks to Alicia back here. But I really work at it and try. So she became my coach. I am an absolute firm believer that as good as we are and as wonderful our intentions are, that we can't change without a coach or mentor of some kind. So who do you think became my coach? Wife. Who else? My kids, right? They've got to call me out all the time. They know what I'm trying to do. They know I'm trying to be. And they can say, Dad, you're not being really whatever it is that, and they have the ability to do that. And sometimes I'm open to it. Sometimes I'm not, because I'm still not perfect at it, but more times than not. And so I'm able to expand, and this is what I call maturity, is being able to show up and be who I need to be with you so that we can accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. That's kind of what I call maturity. I'm self-aware, and I'm making a conscious choice to behave in ways that are different than my nature would. I naturally would do that. Does that make sense? But I can only do that if I really work on it, have to be deliberate about it. And that's what we call maturity. So this next block we're going to get into, we're going to have you get back into creating some posters. We're going to talk about maturity and really break it into a great discussion. So now what we'd like you to do is invite you to begin your journey by understanding yourself a little bit better, understand these 4 temperaments. Click down below, click on the more, see where the assessment is, take the free assessment. And that way you can begin your journey on helping us put the human back into humanity.